Good morning, everybody. This is Judith A. Cope. You're listening to Mad Love. I'm sorry there was no show yesterday, but I got a phone call about 7 a.m. From my brother, one of my brother's caregivers, and she could tell by his breathing that he was nearing the end, and while we were on the phone, he expired. And so after many years of declining health, my brother transitioned yesterday, and about this time I just threw on some clothes and ran over there. And I was there most of the morning at his apartment. So I live very close to him because when I moved my mom out of her house, I picked this area because A, it was close to my brother, but also B, I didn't get a lot of crimes from here in the prosecutor's office. So I was like, cool. And we were neighbors for 5 years. So I got up there and he looked so peaceful. He really looked like he just fell asleep and didn't wake up, which is what I had been praying for. My sister didn't want him to be alone, and he wasn't. And so our prayers were answered. It was just a very long, difficult, arduous battle with him. My brother was bipolar. And if anybody listening has a bipolar relative, you know, if one person in your family is bipolar, your whole family's bipolar. Everybody's got it, because it's everybody's responsibility at some point to deal with them. You know, in a nuclear family anyway. And a lot of times you're tasked with things that really shouldn't be your responsibility, but they are, because this person can't seem to take care of themselves. And it's something about mental illness. These people do not want to stay on that medicine. They stop taking the medicine every chance they get. And that was something that happened with my brother from 1981 till now. I mean, he was sort of forced to take his mental medication in hospice because, you know, people were monitoring him and making him take his medication. But I think his last big mental break was 2022, and he had stopped taking his medication. He told our sister it was because, because, you know, I was working so hard with my mom, that he wanted to help. So he stopped taking his medication. I'm like, that's not a help. I've been bringing her over here every day, and you see how sick she is, but I think it was just a coping mechanism. And, you know, he was legendarily stubborn, so I'm sure he just was like, this is stressful, I need to get clear-headed. And so he stopped taking his medicine. So what's weird about that is, to them, they're foggy on the medicine, but they look calm to us. But when they're off the medicine, they feel clear-headed, but they look nuts to us. So, and not to be crass, but yet they do. They look crazy. And I don't use those words flippantly, but there's nothing else to describe a bipolar person off their meds for a couple of months, because it takes about 3 months for it to really get out of their system, and they just start down these really weird paths. They start saying things and phrases that make no sense, and it was just a real battle with him. And it was for years. I was talking to one of my friends, and she was telling me her son had just been recently diagnosed, and he's 24 or something, 25. I was like, girl, my brother's 64, and we still deal with his mental stuff. I mean, I just pray for every family that has to deal with it, because it's just an overwhelming situation. And then, you know, they're not great with their health or their health choices. So actually, most bipolar men only have a life expectancy of somewhere between 64 and 65 years. And my brother hit that on the head. And so I'm sad for a lot of reasons, but not overwhelmingly sad. He had a tough life. He had a good life. We were very much a middle-class family, so we enjoyed the spoils of being a black middle-class family in the 70s and 80s, right? There wasn't very many things that he wanted that he didn't get. He went to great schools. He got scholarships everywhere and was on the who's who or what's what, whatever those lists are for students. And, he was a big deal. He was very, very bright, got a great job, worked for the Department of the Army for 30 years. Yes, that should scare you. He worked on very sensitive stuff for the Department of the Army. He didn't really talk about his work. I think it was pretty much a secret, especially during wartime. And he retired. I don't think he had a great retirement plan because it was pizza and Mountain Dew as far as the eye could see in his house. And I believe his decline began then. His serious decline. Because he'd been declining for years, but the serious drop-off decline probably has been the last 10 years. And the last 5 years included multiple hospitalizations. I think having him in hospice was the first time in years that he wasn't in the hospital for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. He was in the hospital when my mom died. Like, he had just been chronically in the hospital for half the year. And so all the money he made, he made quite a bit. He was very good with money. He had a bachelor's in finance. So listen, if you know somebody with bipolar, that does not mean they cannot have a life. But they have to take that medication and they have to have some discipline. So he made great money. He paid for my mom's caregiver. And he paid for his own caregivers. But if you want to see your money go fast, get sick. So we were probably getting towards the end of the hospice experiment. And I told him, I'm like, you're not really budgeted to just like be at home like this in this vulnerable position for much longer. Because it's expensive. It's expensive. And so, it's nice to not have to worry so much. I mean, I think that's the biggest part of caregiving. And I wasn't on his team. I was his hospice manager. Don't call me on a daily basis. And I remember one time he called me in the middle of the night. I was like, I'm not the person to call in the middle of the night. And I think he had started to realize that he had inflicted a lot of damage on his body. And it wasn't getting better. But he never changed his diet, and nobody changed it for him. So, congestive heart failure, and you're continuing to eat the way he liked to eat. It was just a matter of time. So in that way, I admire, anybody who lives the life they want to live. But selfishly, doing that at the expense of having your family have to watch this was very frustrating. I thought it was selfish to just be like, I'm going to do whatever I want. And there will be no consequences. And I don't care if people look at me and get sad. I don't care if people, you know what I mean? It was just sort of like, nah. And my mom would have been devastated. I said many times when I would look at him and he was struggling so bad, I was like, man, I'm so glad she's gone. Like, her seeing him like this would not be a good thing. And so they're reunited. I'm going to put their ashes in the Atlantic Ocean together. I'm thinking we'll go probably around Memorial Day or late May and just have a party, a family party. I'm not a funeral girl. I don't do funerals. If I'm in charge of anything, do not expect a funeral. I think they're macabre and, anti-life. I want to celebrate somebody's life. And my brother listened to a lot of good music, and I listened to a lot of it in his room in the 70s. And we just had fun. He was a DJ. I don't know what happened. Something happened in his life where he just stopped being an active participant. He used to play his PlayStation. He'd have friends over playing video games. He used to DJ parties and weddings. He worked full time. He always worked. He always bought himself nice cars. He lived a really full life. And I'm sure people looked at him and thought he wouldn't, because he also had a birth injury. But I think he exceeded a lot of people's expectations, including his parents. I'm pretty sure he did, but they were hard on us, so I'm not sure why they would be surprised. But, he went to college and graduated. Even after his mental break, he graduated on time. He was a person capable of great fortitude and discipline when he wanted to do it. But if he didn't want to do it, he wasn't going to come anywhere close to doing it. So, I can't imagine what his contribution to the world could have been if he had loftier expectations. But, he didn't. So he lived a very productive, successful American life. And, our healthcare system isn't huge on dignity and grace or any of that. And I tried to give him that, and I hope I gave him that. And he had that BiPAP mask on, and his last words to me were, "I love you, Judy," because it was kind of muffled through that mask. And I said, "I love you back." And, within 24 hours, I got the call that he wasn't breathing anymore. And I'll tell you something. I'm relieved in a lot of ways, because worrying about him and worrying about how we were going to pay for everything is very, very stressful. And that's how I got sucked in on his team. I was doing the finances, and I'm like looking, and, I'm like, dude, I'm not sure how much longer he can stay on his own, or should he even be staying on his own. I worried about that quite a bit. And I think that's the toll it takes on the caregivers when you're worrying and trying to keep everything afloat and still honor the person and still keep them safe. And it's just a ton of responsibility. And to have to do that again within 2 years of my mom's passing is a lot. But I feel pretty good. I think people worry that I feel like I could just do it all. I don't feel that. I put very clear boundaries up with my brother, because I knew I couldn't do it. I knew I couldn't take that on. I didn't have the bandwidth last year to take it on, and I don't feel like I have it now, but I had to get more involved. But I had been getting more rest and feeling good, so it worked out. But I don't know. I'm very thankful to be out of the caregiving business, for real. I thought I was when my mom passed away. But then immediately, last year, I don't know if you guys remember, but the government was shut down, and both of them were federal employees. And so it was so challenging. And then, I'm like, I'm free. I get this paperwork done. And and then I get a call that he's in the hospital. And I'm like, shit. I am not free. And he wanted to be a good big brother, and I think he did the best he possibly could. But we had a lot of laughs in the 70s and 80s. We watched a lot of episodes of MASH. We watched a lot of football. And when I didn't understand football, he would very patiently explain things when I was a kid. And I think football is something the siblings shared through the years. We watched a lot of football. He loved the Cardinals. And I know he probably wanted out of here because he didn't think they was going to have a good season. I don't need to see this. And I'm kind of being funny, but not. So, rest in peace, Tracy, for real. And I told him on Sunday, because he was so miserable and out of it, I said, listen, wherever you're transitioning to, you can go there and you can relax, because you do not have to hang around here and suffer for me or anybody. And your mother is here. I didn't know his dad very well. We have different fathers, so the nurse was like, well, I'm sure his daddy's standing here too. I said, listen, I didn't know his dad very well. He probably is here, but I know for certain his mother is here, and she is over my shoulder getting on my nerves. I absolutely know that. So, and I told him, I said, if you're ready to go, you just can let go. And I just don't believe in suffering. And the American healthcare system is big on suffering. So rest in peace to my brother. And I pray for his restoration and his peace and his comfort. And to everyone who's not in the top shape of their lives, they don't feel as healthy as they could, focus on it. Focus on being healthy. Focus on feeling good. Focus on doing as much as you can to preserve your life. It goes fast. He was 64. That's not old. Be in the moment. Be present. You know, fight for your life. Not in some, you know, ha-ha way like, oh, fight for, I'm out here fighting for my, like for real. We are in a fight for our health. He loved all that terrible food they shove on us. His kitchen looks like a 16-year-old's kitchen. You know, he loved that toxic, nasty food. Fight for your life. You're either playing the Game of Thrones or it's playing you. And a lot of us are getting played because we don't pay attention to what we put in our mouths. And we don't make the connection between how we eat and how we feel. But the best thing that happened to me is I almost died. I had congestive heart failure in 2011. My brother had it now, and he didn't do anything. He didn't change one thing. And his body shut down on him. But I fought, and I'm a fighter. If you tell me, oh, you might die from this, I'm like, no, I'm not. I am not sitting here waiting to die from something I know I can cure. And he and I are very different. We were very different. I did not attack it the way he did. He didn't do anything. I was like, oh, hell no. I didn't even look up the symptoms. I didn't look up the long-term prognosis. I bought a book by Dr. Mark Hyman, and I changed my life. And I changed the way I eat. And so now when people are like, food prices are skyrocketing, I haven't noticed yet because they may be higher, but I have been paying more for my food since 2011. Because there's a thought that if, you know, you're either going to buy food or medicine. And now it's, you know, you really have to read the labels. You really have to pay attention to where your food is sourced, because it's a war out here. It is a spiritual war. They are trying to kill us. They are putting toxic chemicals in almost everything, you know, and people, I know Whole Foods isn't perfect, but I do feel like I don't have to read as many labels. You know, I do know that there are some things in there that are like, wait a minute, what? But a lot of their brands aren't toxic off the jump, you know, and people just need to pay attention. And I would seriously consider going sugar-free. I definitely would consider going sugar-free. I don't like carnivore because my numbers look good on carnivore, but just meat is not how I want to live. But pick the diet that works for you. Keto is good, low carb. If you're not feeling well, I'm sure. And if you like food and you're a foodie, you're going to hate this diet. But if you're sick, you're going to have to eat a lot more vegetables, because everything else is causing inflammation. Go organic, grow as many vegetables as you can. Put some lettuce in the ground and grow it and eat it, because you know it's not full of pesticides. I mean, seriously, guys, that's my message to everybody. So anyway, take care of yourselves and be well. Yeah, that's it. See you next time, Tracy.